Assalamu alaikum, guys. Peace and blessings upon everybody. How are you? How's everyone doing? I'm just starting the stream now. Today's topic is going to be maybe a little heavy, but I just wanted to show you guys how I like to deal with hypocrites when hypocrites show themselves. Because hypocrites have a very keen way on trying to present information, or they're trying to tell you on their worldview and how their morals are. But yet they're caught in their own lie almost every single time they open their mouth. This is the thing with hypocrites, and this is something that we need to be very aware of, because it's very easy to just say like, oh no, only God knows what's in the hearts of people, and we give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And at that point, that way, our community starts to suffer, because then the hypocrites are constantly getting their way. Now, God clearly told us in the Quran that He makes His verses clear to us, and He makes His signs clear to us, lest we understand what God is trying to show us. One thing that is very important for you to understand the people in front of you when they're speaking to you is their body language. Body language is something that's very important, because God clearly states in one of the verses that it's like قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الْبَغْضَاءُ مِنْ أَفْوَاهِهِمْ. Like their hate has been shown from their mouth, even though they're saying like, oh yeah, we love you, or we don't love you. Because you might say like, they might like, oh yeah, you know I love you, right? And then you say something back like, sure, yeah, I think you love me. And then they go like, wow, this guy's pissing me off. These like little slips is a little clues to what's inside their hearts, and God knows exactly what's in their heart, okay? Now, I understand there's a lot of discussions and turmoil going on around the world right now, especially with our brothers. Well, I consider them brothers. Obviously, they don't consider me as one, but they still try to represent what the Quran is saying, so we can give them the benefit of the doubt. Whatever's occurring in the United Kingdom. Now, before I want to kick off, Andrew Tate, from what he presents and the way that he speaks, he thinks he's a lord. He wants to be worshipped. I have a thread on Twitter that I made today that I put together really quick, highlighting how almost every few months since his conversion, he refers to himself as a lord, or he's teaching you on how girls should view you as a lord, and all this nonsense about him wanting to be a lord. There's multiple occasions when he said that let's go worship Jesus Christ, okay? Lord Jesus Christ. So the man is LARPing as a Muslim. It's very clear at this point that this guy never really embraced what Islam truly is. He just understands that there's a money to be made from Muslims, and it's a big community that sticks together in a very like mild cult-like actions. So they're not people that go attack and cause problems like the far right wings, which is a cult on its own. But the Muslims, because of their sheer size, where there is this kind of like a family settings between them, regardless of theology, as long as they don't talk theology, they kind of get along. So he understands that if he lets loose his Muslim goons on people on Twitter and whatever, it's a really big force that shuts people down. So this is what his whole persona is. I've been around people like Andrew Tate, unfortunately, just because of my own choices growing up when I was an idiot. I understand how these people think, and the thing that's beautiful about the Quran is teaching you. Salam, brother. Salam, Najim. Salam, guys, and I'm sorry, I want to jump into it because I don't have much time because of the camera, and it is quite a long interview. I'm just showing you the kind of the thing. The Quran teaches you how to see the devil, how to deal with the devil, and how to predict the devil. I made a claim today before when Piers made this tweet saying that today there's going to be an interview with Tate, and Tate's response was something that is of a nasty. You could tell that they didn't have a really good interview, even though Tate is the one who called for this debate. But I could clearly see the angle that Piers Morgan's going to come with. He's going to say that, hey, you kind of incited this hate and like terrorism against these Sunnis in UK. And he's going to say, no, I didn't. You misunderstood me. And he's going to double down on his lie. Okay? I called that, and I haven't watched the whole interview. I just saw the first like 2-3 minutes, but I haven't seen a proper person that loves the Quran answer Andrew Tate the way that he needs to be answered. So I'm just going to go take this opportunity, and I apologize. You got to let me know how the stream quality is, but it's not going to be, how can I say, it's not going to be kind, okay? God told us sometimes that we need to use a little bit of harshness with those that deserve harshness. The way that he talks to people is in a style that is very aggressive. So you need to sometimes answer back with a little bit of aggressiveness. And I don't care if Andrew Tate ends up watching this or not. This is for you to understand on how to deal with these types of individuals. So you're about to see a showcase that if you were a one-on-one with somebody like Andrew Tate, or with somebody who's Sunni, or somebody who's a hypocrite, who's extremely arrogant, on how to really find the words that matter and always go back to the Quran, because the Quran is telling you how to answer them. Again, I have not practiced nor seen this in its entirety. I just seen the first little bit, and I just want to do it live in front of you so I could show you how I applied the Quran on people like this loser. And I have to call him a loser until he repents. And you guys should understand why he's a loser by the end of this. Again, I don't know what he's going to say, but I can just now predict him because of how much stupid stuff he's been saying. So without further ado, here's Mr. Taint.
Would you like to take this opportunity finally to tell the rioters to stop rioting? Yes or no?
Let me make it clear to the people on both sides of the equation, all of my brothers in Islam and all of the Christians and native people of the UK who feel like they're underrepresented. You have more in common with the people you live amongst than you do with these political elites. The people you live amongst love their children, and they're struggling to pay the bills exactly like you are. What kind of powder keg are we building here through incompetent leadership in the UK? I'm a mixed race Muslim, and I'm pointing out this very obvious truth.
The sheer brass neck, frankly, Andrew, of you lecturing me about the truth when you've spent the last week spewing complete fake news bullshit. You told your millions of followers, and it was seen by 15 million people, that it was an illegal migrant who had committed these crimes. Are you prepared to apologise for that lie?
Only in the UK do we have a country so insane that we have no border, we don't know who's there, crimes through the roof, nobody's safe on the streets.
Okay, Pac-Man, I'm going to deal with what your comment, right? What you said right here. You said you have no right to judge a brother's heart. I'm not sitting here judging that he's going to hell or heaven. I'm here to judge his actions and his words and him, okay? Now, his reaction and what he's causing to the Muslim community, okay? Let's assume that the Sunnis are brothers. Let's assume our Shias are brothers. There is a problem when somebody who's as influential as Andrew Tate releases comments and the sheeple, the people that have no brain, that have no wisdom, listen to him. Because when they listen to him, now you are causing something called a fitna, a trial within the community, a confusion. And then the reaction that was done wasn't for the Muslims in this case. It was 100% against the Muslims. This is where you guys don't, like whoever's saying, oh, you don't have the right to judge his heart. I have the right to judge his actions. God gave me this book, the Quran, to judge a person by his actions. This man clearly showed so many signs of blasphemy, and then he goes sides with the people who are kicking you out of your homes and the ones who are telling you that your religion is wrong and fighting you in religion. There's a verse clearly in the Quran telling you you cannot side with those people. You cannot sit there and try to show friendships and try to be nice to those people. So when Tommy Robinson, this far right crazy man that wanted to insult the prophet a few times, Andrew Tate's gonna sit there and call him and be like, oh gee, he's an acquaintance for a long time, a lot of what he's saying is right. So what side are you on, Andrew Tate? So when you're gonna tell me I don't have the right to think, to judge what a brother's heart is, well then let's see how much of a liar Andrew Tate is.
Anymore, and then when you point these things out, somehow you're some kind of racist and bad person.
No, you're posting complete disinformation.
Oh, I'm sorry,
it's not okay.
Sir. Did I get the wrong stabber? Oh, I apologize.
Yeah, you did.
Piers Morgan, of
Yeah,
course.
you
I got
did.
the wrong stabber.
Yeah, you did.
Piers, be very careful what you say.
On July 29th, a 17-year-old boy murdered 3 girls and injured 8 more children in a horrific mass stabbing at a Taylor Swift-themed dance class in Merseyside. The alleged killer was born in Wales to Rwandan parents, but police did not initially confirm his identity because he's aged under 18. Disinformation filled the vacuum instead. Right-wing influencers spread a battery of false claims online, including that the killer was a devout Muslim and a Syrian refugee. Riots and looting have since spread to at least 16 towns and cities across the UK. Far-right thugs have sieged mosques and hotels housing asylum seekers. Groups of armed Muslim men have attacked people in the street. These appalling scenes have become a stain on Britain's global reputation. Elon Musk has commented that civil war is inevitable in the UK. Many US conservatives are amplifying the unrest as apparent evidence of failed multiculturalism. One of the influencers accused of fanning the flames is Andrew Tate, a recently converted Muslim man whose inaccurate claims in the days after the mass stabbing have been viewed tens of millions of times. And he joins me now. Andrew Tate, welcome back to Uncensored.
It's been a while.
It has, and obviously you've, as in fact I'm about to talk to you, Nigel Farage, who is now a member of Parliament in the UK and who has been saying some very inflammatory things in the last week or so about these riots, has blamed you, named you in a radio interview as for the person who spread the disinformation, which he then believed. I want to start by playing a clip of a video you posted to Instagram, I think it was, on the 29th of July, that you posted to various social media platforms, in which was your response to what had happened.
So an undocumented migrant decided to go into a Taylor Swift dance class today and stab 6 little girls. That's right, somebody arrived in the UK on a boat. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody knows where he's from. The media is, of course, hiding the fact that this is a 17-year-old male. They don't want to highlight how ridiculous it is that we allow military-aged males, combatants, to flood our shores. I don't see any protests in the UK. I don't see anybody complaining. Nobody's outside of the school. Nobody's outside the police station. The soul of the Western man is so broken that when the invaders slaughter your daughters, you do absolutely fucking nothing.
Now, you see, the thing is, while he was staring at the camera, I chose to stare at the camera too. Because his style of him staring at the camera is him trying to intimidate you. That I'm such a strong and I'm standing at every word that I said. Because this is the thing about the hypocrite, is they cannot bring themselves to the point of saying that, I'm sorry, please forgive me. God, please forgive me. They don't, if the messenger was alive or if there's a messenger there, they don't go to the messenger and say like, ask God for forgiveness. Because they just don't get it in their head. It is not possible for them to see that they've caused an error. This is one of the biggest signs of hypocrisy. If someone's saying, I believe in God, but yet they cannot see the errors that they make. Because to them, God works for them. God is something that works for them. God is a tool for them to get their means. It's not an entity that they worship or the entity that sets the limits. He said what he wants. I'm going to look at you in the camera. I'm going to stare you down. I'm going to try not to blink even though I failed twice. And then I'm going to start now by expressing my way in a way that I was absolutely right. Because the first thing he did is in body language, after he heard his own voice, he nodded twice saying, yep, that's what I said and that's what I'm sticking to. So just looking at him, because I know how much he likes to talk about his father, and I understand a lot of what he learned is kind of what his father was teaching him. But the thing is, I came from a father that would run circles around his fathers, and he would even embarrass his father any day of the week. So I understand his side of professionalism that he wants to come, but it does not make you or give you the right to be a liar when you want to be a professional. You can try to not commit to words, and you could try to allude to what you actually meant without having to lie. But he's about to lie constantly. This whole debate in regards to what he said in that clip that he was presented. And that clip was a big proponent, and it was a big fuel to the riots from the people that went and started to throw acids in the face of Muslim girls, that started to break the houses of God, okay? He was a big proponent in that. He was a person who fueled the fire, if one would say. So whatever he's trying to do in his body language, because he's a big boy, he wants to talk about law. If he raises his hand and he hits anybody and he wants to show his big muscles, he's going to sit in jail for the rest of his life. So all this big muscle building that he's doing and all this big macho means absolutely nothing when he's going to sit down and talk intellectually to people. So whenever he's trying to stare you down like the hypocrites want to stare back, you just stare back exactly and think about God, because your eyes are going to be a lot more sharper than their stupid little devilish eyes.
Video's been viewed 15.1 million times. X limited the post's visibility because of its rules on hateful conduct. But the bottom line, Andrew, is that almost everything you said in that video was completely untrue. And yet it was apparently seized upon online, spread wide and far and made people believe what you were saying. So my question for you off the top here is, why did you race to spread such woeful disinformation, given the massive following you have, and encourage people to take action against a caricature and description of who had perpetrated this, which was simply untrue?
Well, firstly, I'll start by saying I didn't know Nigel Farage said those things about me, which is a shame because I'm actually a fan of him. I think he's trying to do the right thing. I also understand in his political sphere, sometimes he has to hang other people out to dry to save himself because he's getting heat also.
So his comments right there, if it's a person who believes in God and is a Muslim, you never needed to make that comment because you're trying to sit there and allude and lie to people, align with people that will naturally not accept you. Okay, so you could have Sunnis, you could have Muslims, believers, you can have Christians and atheists all in the same room, and you can maintain the peace as long as nobody's transgressing against each other. But would the atheist would they be completely aligned with the Sunni or the Muslim? Obviously not. Would the Muslim sit in the Christian and really be hand in hand if they're both practicing what they truly believe in? It's not possible because you have set values and set worldview that the other person cannot agree with. So you're going to get into a point where you guys are not going to see eye to eye, and you need to maintain the peace by not mixing in those things. So each community has a way to view the world and live in a way that aligns with the values of whatever ruler is trying to set your country. But for him to sit there, I'm a big fan of him and I want him to notice me, and I understand that in the political sphere that somebody has to be wronged out. Why do you need to sit there and cozy up to people that will never accept you because of your religion if you claim that you're a Muslim? I would never sit, if I was in that position and Trump is saying something bad about me, I'm not going to be like, that's unfortunate because I thought highly of Trump compared to Kamala, and I want Trump to say something positive, but I understand he needs to throw the Muslim under the bus because of whatever X reasons. It's not that I support Trump. I dislike Trump is worse than this man. But what I'm trying to show is that this guy is trying to also cozy up to Nigel Farage, who clearly states that the Muslims are not people who are compatible with our society, which anyone who's a Muslim could be compatible because it's got nothing to do with race, but they want to make it into a race issue where Nigel Farage clearly stated that Muslims are not compatible with British society. And this guy goes, that's unfortunate. I want to be his friend. Well, because you're a loser. You're just looking for clout. People who are more influential in the political sphere, because clearly you're trying to be political.
Secondly, I'll argue with you about the fact that everything I said was untrue. I think the only thing I said that was untrue is that perhaps he was undocumented. It was a 17-year-old male. It was a migrant. He did kill little girls.
So here it is. Okay, so I'll let him finish and then we'll talk about his
advocating
life.
for people to stand outside and make it clear that they're unhappy with what happened is not a dangerous ideology. We live in a democracy where we have the right to protest and the right to make it clear when our voices are not heard. I recently protested.
Okay, before he carries on, this is where he lies. This is how he plays the game. So there's a verse in the Quran about the Jews, what the Jews do. Remember, this is an example. Obviously, he's not a Jew, but he follows the same Zionist mentality. Not the Jewish mentality, but the Zionist mentality. Is that I'm going to say words, okay? And the words are so slippery that you might understand it in a certain way, and I did mean it a certain way, but then I'm going to go change what the words kind of meant so that I meant this thing. You didn't understand what I meant because what I said was true, but you just misunderstood it. The word in question here was migrant. Okay, this is the word that kind of erupted everybody because the kid, he killed kids. The kid had a mental issue. He killed 3 kids, stabbed them, killed them. He was a natural born British man. Regardless of how many generations or if he's fully into the system, he, by the law, by what we're talking about technical terms, because the Mr. Professional Man is very technical, he is not a migrant. His parents are migrant, but the child is not a migrant. He saying the word migration, illegal migrant. This is something that was already an underlying problem with the British society. Him using that terminology, he knew very well what he's doing. Him being completely wrong is the whole issue. It's not about he's wrong about the age. He's not wrong about, did he stab kids or not? He's not wrong about the details of the event. What he's wrong about is the underlying issue that erupted the whole thing. It's exactly what, if there was an engineer or psyops, it's literally what they were trying to do. It's illegal migrants are the problem. This man comes, he says, you see, a migrant killed somebody and you guys did absolutely nothing. But now he's saying, no, I'm talking about peaceful protest, and I'm talking about going on the streets, and I'm talking about this. But the way that you showed yourself in the video to your sheeple, to the people that don't have a mind, that they're dumb, that they'll listen to anything that you tell them, you literally tell them to come buy this crypto coin, which you pump and dump, and they'll do it. The people that'll pay $8,000 to for these courses that have absolutely no value, they'll do it. So when you're telling them that they need to go out in the way that you're expressing it, it has nothing to do with peaceful protest at that point. The way that you were presenting it is that they needed to go in with an aggressive nature, because illegal migrants are stealing our jobs. Illegal migrants are coming here and they're being treated better than what we were treating. They're taking over your cities. They're taking over your countries. They're killing your kids. Are you not going to do anything about it? What the hell do you think that the right-wing mind is going to think? Do you really think the Nazis going to be there and sit there, well, like, yeah, a migrant just killed some kids in my country. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to write on a paper, because a Nazi can't write. He's going to write, well, don't kill kids. And I'm going to stand in front of the Saudi Arabian embassy and send the people back home. Or he's going to go to the Pakistan embassy and be like, don't kill our kids. Because you're just a stupid man that just can't see foresight. You're just thinking about your money and your influence, and for you to get bigged up by Tommy Robinson and to get back bigged up by Nigel Farage that, hey, look, man, I understand the politics. I understand the underlying tone. Your word migrant is what caused the problem. Nothing else in your statement mattered at that point.
Against the Olympic ceremony outside the French embassy, I'm not sure if you saw it, complaining about how they depicted Jesus Christ, because I was unhappy with what I saw. And I think that when people feel like they have a voice, they're not likely to get violent. And the problem we have now is that people do not have a voice, which is why we're seeing rioting, which is why we're seeing looting, because people do not feel like there's a political solution any longer. And what I was trying to do is encourage people to stand up and make their voice heard in a peaceful way to avoid violence. Because when people feel like they're not heard, violence is always the end result.
Well, obviously that's not true, because the debate has been going on for a very, very long time. So this is something that's been bubbling up. But the problem is it's not the majority against the minorities. Yes, Pakistani, as you call them, Pakis, okay? Pakistanis are a minority in Britain. The migrants. Okay, they're a very small minority, including all the minorities from all the other countries that don't have a good opportunity to try to go to the West for an opportunity, legal or illegal at this point. They are an extremely small minority of the people that live in the UK. And the people that went to come kill them and kick them out, they are also a minority. They're not the majority of what the British people think. It's not the majority of what the white Caucasian British man thinks. That other right wing, and the reason why I'm calling them right wing, because their mentality is what represents fascism, okay? They are a people who have no education. There's one man that's saying that, oh, well, why do they have the right to build mosques here? Let us go to Mecca and build mosques. Well, bro, you're trying to sound sophisticated, but you sounded like a complete tool bag. But these are the people who get influenced by the words of this simpleton, the person who's trying to sound educated and he's trying to sound sophisticated in the way that he's presenting his information. He just went triggered the most racist type. So it's not that it's like me saying words in a way to trigger the ISIS of UK, and then the ISIS of UK goes and starts to cause their mayhem. This is what he did. He didn't incite the white educated mind, the Caucasian mind that says, like, you know what, I feel like the government is showing favor to people who are coming overseas. I understand that we're trying to show diversity and we're trying to show them a different way than where they came from, but I feel like we went over the limits and there's a way so that we could take our rights back without having to cause our ISIS to go out on the street and start throwing acid on girls' faces. But this loser that wants to keep saying my Muslim brothers and my Muslim people, he just wants to sit there and start pushing the white racist talking points. Because the problem is not illegal immigration. The problem is not with the migrants. The problem is the lack of education on the white side, the Caucasian side. Because the person that gets his education and he does his work, he lives a better life than the migrant. He lives a better life than the Pakistani. He lives a better life than the Bengali. But those that are sitting doing absolutely nothing but getting drunk all day, those are the people who are going to complain that guy is the one who's taking all the jobs, because they see him in front of them. Because where those elites that you guys are talking about, they're sitting there trying to build. But this is where you're stupid, man. This is where you're stupid. You just don't know the damage that you've done, and you don't apologize because you're a hypocrite.
Yeah, but you've actually had the complete opposite effect, and you know the massive following that you have and the influence that you can wield. And by spreading, I mean, again, you've repeated the fact this kid who has obviously now been charged with very serious crimes, including killing these 3 girls, was a migrant. He wasn't a migrant. He was born in Wales. His parents were legal immigrants from Rwanda. So he's not a migrant. He's somebody born in Wales, born in the United Kingdom.
Well, first things first, it's unfair for you to say that I've had an opposite effect. What I did was point out the facts of the situation, that a 17-year-old male killed little girls. If I point out the facts of the situation, that the sky is blue, and then people go and decide to riot because I've said those things, does not mean those things are not true. That's the first.
But you're a liar, because the problem is not you saying that the sky is blue. You're saying that the sky is falling down. That's what you said. That's what you did. So people ran to their shelters and did what they had to do because of the panic that you caused. You didn't say a 17-year-old Rwandan boy killed some people, or a 17-year-old first-generation British person killed some people. You said illegal migrant. Those words is the problem, but you don't want to address it. Why? Because you're a liar, Andrew Tate. If you could take your shirt off and be shirtless here, you would, because that's the biggest sign of a hypocrite, that they want to show you their bodies and personalities. They want to put it on display for everybody, because as I said, you think in your head that you're a Lord that is worthy of worship.
Secondly, here's where we have the dichotomy of the UK, and I actually think this conversation...
Brother Premier, honestly, I am calm. But the reason why I address the things the way I address them is just so that you could see that these are concepts that really matter. And you have to also address points in a way where you have some animation. But I'm completely calm. I'm completely realizing the words that I'm saying. You have yet to see me angry. I promise you, I'm not angry. But he's bringing an energy to the table that needs to be matched. So if this man was in front of me, I would be talking in the same manner. It's not because of anger and hate. It's because he himself is bringing this demonic being with him, this demonic idea, this aggressiveness, this arrogance. I talked calmly to him at the beginning, but at the point, it's going to get to a point where it's heated. But this man is problematic. It's not because he's Pharaoh saying, I'm your Lord. He's saying that I'm a Muslim, but I'm your Lord. So he's, in a sense, worse than what Pharaoh does, but he's just not as powerful as Pharaoh. So this person is a cancer to our community. Shia, Sunni, Muslim, the people who believe in the Quran and trying to understand the message of God. This person is a clear cancer to us and to the community unless he repents. And the more the people keep giving him this grievance, this platform, and label him as a Muslim, it is going to harm us in the very long run, because he will die. He's going to get screwed over. And when he's dead and screwed over, the only thing that's going to be remaining is these tater tots considering themselves Muslims getting affected by his words, who are going to go out and do things that are completely un-Islamic, thinking that they're also serving God the way this guy served God, when this guy was clearly just serving a devil. So I apologize, bro. Yeah, all praise to be him. I can get angry, but I try to present. I am going to be fair. I'm not going to sit here and just dump on Andrew Tate. This is not the purpose here. Whatever he says in truth is truth, okay? But I'm here to tell you about how he's presenting information, which is contrary to anybody that claims that he's a Muslim. This is the point of why I'm targeting him. If I could go at Piers Morgan, but Piers Morgan's not saying he's a Muslim.
Conversation is going to be one of the most important and potent conversations of modern times, especially as this issue is not going to be solved anytime soon, Piers. The problem we have now in the UK is that we have a certain subsect of the population who believe because he was born in Cardiff, he is a Welsh man. And we have another subsect of the population who believe that even if he was born in Cardiff, he is not Welsh. I'm currently in Romania. I'm an American and British citizen. The woman who I have a child with is Italian. The child was born in Romania. The Romanians do not consider that child Romanian, not by their view of the world. If I had a child in China, they would not consider that kid Chinese. They would look at the face shape of the child and say that's not a Chinese child. If I had a black child in Russia, they would not consider that child Russian. In the West, in the democracies, we do. But we have a problem because you now have you have a dichotomy of ideas, you have two different camps, and the camp that believe that this person perhaps isn't even Welsh in the first place are also the camp which are being suppressed and not allowed to speak and are being smeared and labeled as far right for having genuine concerns. And that is why things are getting exasperated and out of control.
No, that's not the case. That's not the truth. Because what you did was try to paint two images and then you did a straw man. One, you talked about the legality. Okay, so in legal forms, when you're going to bring your paperwork, even as someone neutralized as British, he's considered a British national. Okay, it does not mean that he is now born of a British national citizenship and therefore now he's British blood. Okay, and yes, the child himself that was born as a first generation British man, not neutralized but by birth, that man is still considered by law, okay? He is considered by law from the United Kingdom. But that's what we're talking about. We're talking about words and definition. The way that we define it in the way of the law, he is a British national. He's not an illegal immigrant. So whatever dichotomy you want to paint, that there's some people that are saying, well, no, I would never accept this man as my brother because he doesn't have the right set of skin, or he doesn't speak the language that I speak the way that I speak it. You're right. There are some crazy idiots in the British Kingdom, in the United Kingdom, where if the person is a third generation Pakistani, they will still say that you're not a Briton, that you don't belong here. So how many generations do you need for that group of people to feel like that other person's a human being? And all these labels is just because you're adhering to a society law that you put, whether you agree with it or you don't agree with it. That's the world that you're living in. That's the world that you yourself adhere to. It's not that the Matrix and not the Matrix or whatnot. You talked about Romanian, you talked about Italian, you talked about British, right? So you are adhering and using those same terms. That child was not an illegal immigrant. The word that set off the whole bomb was illegal immigrant. So why don't you just say that? No, I was incorrect. He was not an illegal immigrant, and I apologize. Would Andrew Tate do that in the next 53 minutes? But yeah, if we're going to talk about just cultures, he's absolutely right. I could never be considered as American. Even if my child is American, he would technically not be considered American, because nobody in America is considered American. You understand that? Because if you go far back, you're all from the Middle East, or you're all from Africa. So how far back do we need to go until we recognize that that person is from that area? So what is the standard, Andrew Tate? Is it the color of the skin? Is it the number of generations? Or is it the other people accepting you? Because at that point, there is no standard. But Lord Sneed, I'm telling you exactly what he's repeating. Yes, by law, if the kid in Romania, his child has a Romanian citizenship, that child by law is Romanian. It doesn't matter if everyone around does not consider that child Romanian. By heritage, by legality, he's Romanian. And it's the same thing with the person that killed the kids. He is by law not an illegal migrant. He is not a migrant. There was no migration. Why would you call me a migrant if I never migrated? My parents were the migrants. I'm not a migrant. A first generation Italian in America is still an American. Yes, they had the exact same problem with the white folk not accepting the Italians and Americans. They would still consider them not white. So it's the same mentality, which is a racist mentality. So he's saying that, well, because there are racist people not willing to accept the first, second, third, fourth, or even fifth generation British man because he has the wrong color of skin, those people need to have a voice.
What we need is conversation, and what we need is dialect. You cannot have a multicultural democracy and ignore the concerns of one particular subsect of
distorted empath. My brother, he learns from the Quran. That's how you learn about Islam. We don't need anyone to teach you because you have the book in front of you and it's clear.
That culture, especially when it's the native culture, and expect everything to be fine forever. There's a lot of people who have a point of view. They didn't feel like they had a political solution anymore. And this is what's happening. The reason this dichotomy exists, Piers, please understand. If they are sitting there and they're accepting that this is a Welsh man, but now they're starting to get concerned for the safety of their children, and they don't feel like there's any kind of political solution, well, then they're going to come to the very simple and obvious conclusion that they'd rather not have anyone from anywhere else in their country to avoid these things happening again, because they don't feel like there's any other political solution. This is a fail of the politicians. This is a failure of the leaders. It is a job of a leader to inspire all of the people to have trust in him, not just some of the people, not just the people he likes, not just the people on his party or the people he wants. It is his job as a leader to have every single person in the country believe that he cares about the issue and he's doing something actively to fix it. Instead, what Youre did was stand up and do the absolute opposite. Shut down any legitimate concerns, tell people they don't have a voice, tell people nothing's going to change, is going to stay exactly the way it is. And let me tell you something. I want to make this very clear. There's a lot of people in the world who would rather go to jail and have a warm bed and 3 square meals a day than watch their children die. There's a lot of people who would rather go to jail than watch their society collapse in real time around them. There's a lot of people who would really rather go to jail than feel unsafe to walk the street at night ever again. These are people who have lived in the same place for a very long time. They have a vested interest in this geographical location. And without political solutions being offered, I don't know how hubristic you must be to sit and expect anything other than what we've seen. This is a failure of leadership.
Okay, so there was a failure of leadership, but then at the point for you to incite the dirtiest crowd, for you to take your revenge on the people who had absolutely nothing to do with that murder, is not how you deal with that political situation that arose because of a failed government. If the government is failed, you turn them on the government. You don't turn them on the migrants. So what you kind of painted is kind of what Trump did on the January 6th kind of issue when he lost. When he didn't have it his way, he went and incited the worst group that he had so that he would cause the damage that he did. Of course, it was also used by the government in a way to further some agendas, just like how this situation is going to be used by the people who have a bigger brain, which are a lot more evil than you, on how to take advantage of this situation. So if you were someone who is smart, you wouldn't have used the word illegal immigrant. You wouldn't use the child that killed a kid. You would have talked about the mental health issue that is happening because of this clash of civilizations where they cannot see the common ground and they cannot live in this diverse location the way that they have been, and the government also helping in this schism that's happening between the people. And then you turn that people against the government, and then the government has to deal with the people. You don't go release a bunch of animals and a bunch of dogs with acid on people who had absolutely nothing to do with it for them to voice their opinion that they wanted illegal immigrants out. If you had a problem with the government, Andrew Tate, then you would have went and tried to discuss it with the government themselves, wouldn't you? Just like how you're trying to big up Nigel Farage when you realize he was the one who's dissing you because of how stupid you did. And that's a politician. That's a person that can see how outcomes would work because of the words that you're saying. So if you clearly said that, hey man, these kids are dying because of these people that are not native to the land. This is something that the government has been allowing to do for a very long time. They're not hearing the concerns of people who have a right to the land before the other people. Why do they have a right? Because they are in it for a very long time. That's very understandable. This is where you try to play the whole Palestinian Zionist game. But the Palestinians, okay, the Palestinians is not a minority from where they're from. They are the majority, and they are being oppressed in the land. Here, the British man is not being oppressed by the other side. The Muslims are not oppressing the white guy. It's the government oppressing their own people. So in the case of Zionism, it's Netanyahu oppressing the Orthodox Jews. The Orthodox Jews are not going to be like, well, these Palestinians are causing these right-wing people to come out, and this government is so right-wing because of these Palestinians, so instead of dealing with the government, I'm going to go kill some more Palestinians. This is exactly the point that you're trying to make, but you're so convoluted in yourself and you're so demonic in the way that you're presenting it, and you trying to speak in a way that you're so authoritative on the matter. You did not understand the fall that you made because you're not aware of what God is saying. The way that you fix this is you teach proper Islam to the other side, that you're bringing these illegal migrants, and these migrants are coming from. God wants us to deal with the people who's a traveler. God wants us to deal with orphans. God wants us to help the needy. You as British people, you have this opportunity and you've been helping these needy people. Maybe these needy people are taking more than they have, but you're going to get your reward back with God, and your country is going to become better in the long run for being closer to what humanity calls. But instead of you're saying, well, you guys are doing nothing, you guys need to start protesting, you guys not, then you're an idiot because you didn't release them to the elites. Your problem is all about the elites. You released them on the minority. You released them on your brothers, as you keep calling them. As you said, you released them on the Pakis and the Bengalis. Didn't you say you'd rather have Russia take over UK and a bunch of white Russians walking in UK and not some Pakis or Bengalis? Why? Because this is exactly who you are, Andrew Tate. In your mind, you're talking about supremacy of skin color, while supremacy of intelligence, while you're talking about supremacy of culture. So you think that the white culture is a little bit more supreme than what these migrants are bringing. It's not about religion. It's not about religion, but it's 100% about religion in your mind. Because you're stupid. I understand the way that you're thinking. Maybe this is just me making my speculations on who you are, but God knows. But when you're going to make a comment that you'd rather have the Russians take over the British than the Pakis or the Bengalis, it's showing a glimpse of your insight on how you see the British people. They're supposed to be white. You go back a few thousand years, there was nobody there. And those white people technically came from Iran. So should we say that these Iranians have the right over the British, or more than so than the Russian, and more so than the British, because the Iranians are the actual white person. Iranians is where the centerfold, where all these Aryan people came out.
And that's what's so disappointing about it.
Right. So
are you saying that it's racist for people to believe that simply being given a passport doesn't make us Japanese as someone who lived there 2 generations, assimilated to the culture. But okay, the assimilation to the culture happened over time. So you have to allow the person to assimilate. But the problem of over migration is a decent problem. I understand that. Yes, over migration and these limits and the quotas they're putting on migration is not something that is sustainable for the country. But they have a plan. And the plan is not for the benefit of society. The plan is for the benefit of their pockets. They don't care if you go at each other because this is what they like. Okay. But he, instead of actually educating the problem with migration and the problem with migration, he went and exacerbated the problem and he made it worse for the people who are actually targeted. The reason why they're bringing all these migrants, because these are technically cannon fodder when they want to use it as a war, as a game, as a chip. The people in Iraq and the people in Syria and the people in Pakistan and the people in Afghanistan, that's cheap blood. Okay, so if I'm a person who's completely evil and I have poker chips and I'm gambling with my chips with my opponent, okay, my red chips, which are like, let's say these are $5 chips, that's going to be my Pakistanis and Iraqis. I have a lot of those. But my $100 chip, my black chip, okay, that's my British guy. Okay, so my British guy is worth more than these guys. But if I need to cause a riot, right, but I don't want my own breed to be too hurt, I'm going to bring my cannon fodder from all across the world. So when it pops off, they have people to go against instead of going against me. Like, this is literally basic devilish principles. Like, it's very simple. But the way you, as a majority, you beat that is by educating yourselves. Okay? You can't go educate the far right. You can't educate the Nazis. It's very difficult for them to escape their mentality. They're deaf, dumb, and blind. But if you're educating your own community on how to deal with this, then their methods is very easy to beat because it's just the devil trying to scare you. Whatever method they're trying to scare you with, it's easy to beat. Okay? Because you have God on your side. But if you're going to sit there and incite the other guy on your own system, on your own brothers, then you've lost you've lost the whole principle. This is what Daniel Hakikachu is saying, and this is what this idiot is saying. And they're both not seeing how, like in the game of strategy, they literally sided with the enemy. They sided with the devil. I'm not telling Muslims to go out and start fighting the right-wing Zionists, even though that is what needs to be done here, in a way where you're not transgressing. You stand in front of your mosque, they get too close, you just annihilate them, because now at this point the cop is on your side, the law is on your side. They transgress, they trespass. You told them not to come, they came, they got hit. They touch one of your girls, you go and eliminate the person because they started it. And God is your witness, and that's enough. But for you have to educate your people on how to deal with it. But to sit here and to go, well, no, the other side have many clear points. They're right. They have to get their land back at any cost. Pretty much is what he's saying.
So here's my response to what you've just said. First of all Keir Starmer has said, as far as I can see, is that he is going to bring the full force of the law against people who committed acts of violence. And the violence that was perpetrated...
No, he called them far right.
Yeah, well, there were far-right thugs who were leading this, and they were attacking mosques. They were chanting anti-Muslim chants, and they were doing this because
there was a black person in the crowd. Would you say
you've had your say? I'm going to have my say now. It was put out falsely on social media that the person who did this.
Hey, the IDF has been bombing a lot of Palestinians, but they killed one person by friendly fire, and they also killed a Jordanian. And they killed an Egyptian. Are you going to say that they're just targeting the Palestinians? Excellent point, Andrew Tate. Just because they hit the black person, it shows that they're extremely far right, okay? Because it's not about the color of the skin. It's going to be about Judaism, and it's going to be about the Muslims, right? But they, unfortunately, the EDL, the English Defense League, is there to defend the Jews. Because Tommy, your best friend, which you clearly know, is a Zionist. And you're going to start saying Zionist talking points later in the future, because that's how you as a devil will work. When you're going to see that there's too many Muslims against you and they're not buying your BS anymore, you're going to now start to be spiteful. And just like a dirty trash park girl, right? Your method of spite is doing the things that you would know that would hurt your person the most. So when someone's leaving you a comment about how stupid you are when it comes down to Islamic principles, you say, well, stop being a snowflake. You can't be gay in Islam. It's haram to be gay in Islam. That's your response to the people who actually know a lot more of the religion than you. So your next step when you're going to see, I'm telling you guys, you can mark my words for this. The next time this guy is going to get confronted by Muslims on the scale that he's going to get confronted now, he's going to start having Zionist talking points, not because he loves Zionism or hates Zionism or wants Palestine or not wants Palestine. He just wants to take jab at the people who are kind of putting him down, because he's a person that hates losing, and him being put down, like diminished in his public appearance, is losing. He's a loser.
Was a Muslim. Not just a Muslim, but a Muslim who came in on one of the small boats, part of the very contentious, ongoing issue of the small boat. I'm not saying you did. I'm saying this is what was put out on social media in a series of false posts, which then went viral, right? So he was supposedly a Muslim. Not true. Supposedly came in on a small boat. Not true. Supposedly on an MI6 watch list as a potential terrorist. Not true. None of this was true. And so on the back of that, far-right thugs who led this went up and attacked mosques, and they went and attacked hotels with asylum seekers in there waiting to be processed, and they was trying to set fire to them. Those are acts of despicable violence which were being led by far-right thugs. Now, not everybody involved in all these protests is a far-right thug. Some of them will be ordinary members of the public trying to legitimately protest peacefully. I completely accept it. But the ones who were leading it, who were committing the acts of violence and making the threats against the Muslim community, were doing so because they had been completely misled about who had done this. It was not a Muslim. It was not an illegal immigrant. It was not somebody on the MI6 watch list. It was none of those things. Now, you posted on July the 30th, the day after the killing, and I feel particularly incensed, by the way, that the deaths of these 3 young girls have been hijacked in such a reprehensible manner to attack Muslims when a Muslim had nothing to do with it, right?
See, they're showing him his own words, but the man has no empathy, because the man does not understand how empathy works. To him, he's a devil trying to find as much people to give him attention for him to consider it as worship. So whatever he's putting, he doesn't care. He clearly said straight off a boat, okay? The people went and attacked migrants in a hotel that came to the UK for an opportunity. He did not care one bit that those people, when he's hearing it, that the hotels got attacked. You caused it. For me to have 9 million people on my Twitter, whatever number he has, and for me to put that, the people who are ISIS among your following will see it that way. That the white racist Nazi fascist retards, okay, sorry for the word, they're going to see it that way. And that's what they did. They went and attacked the Muslims.
You put this on July the 30th, you posted a picture saying, this is the man from Cardiff. We're looking at this picture now. That murdered the little girl.
Joseph, I understand you troll. I feel like you're trolling me. But if you go look at my long content forums, I have 100 videos in regards to the arguments against Bukhari Hadith or how the Quran works. But obviously you're here just because it's maybe touching on a subject that you don't like, which is Andrew Tate looking like a loser.
Girl, straight off a boat, you said. Really? He wasn't straight off a boat, because this wasn't the person who perpetrated the crimes. You got 4.3 million views for this, and a community notes clarified this is not the man that killed, attacked the children and adults in Southport. This image is of Kasonga Mabulu, who was arrested in Ireland in 2023 for a random knife attack at Dublin Airport. So again, 24 hours later, you're posting more. Okay. You're posting more. You're posting complete disinformation.
I'm sorry,
it's not okay.
Sir.
It's not okay.
Did you see his reaction? It's not a Muslim reaction. He does not care about his day of judgment. There was no thought of his day of judgment. Piers gave me an out. Some man in Dublin stabbed somebody, so it's the exact same story, right? Okay, but right now there's an event that's occurring that is waiting for a trigger, and you triggered it. But that you don't care. You don't care on the day of judgment that you presented information that was complete lie. And you're just going to go to God and you're going to be like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. No, you're not. That's what I'm trying to explain. That you're being a hypocrite because you don't even consider God in the equation. You do no wrong in your head, you loser.
It
Piers,
was not the man.
Did I get the wrong stabber? Oh, I apologize.
Yeah, you did.
Piers Morgan, of course. I got the wrong stabber.
Yeah, you did.
And he certainly looked very Welsh to me. Let me make this clear. I'm a Muslim, and I think anybody who attacked
Oh, I'm a Muslim, but you completely were wrong there. And God doesn't like liars. So when you're going to present a lie and double down on it, oh, he's a stabber, he doesn't look Welsh. 1, you're showing racism. 2, you're not showing empathy. 3, you're lying. 4, you didn't actually admit your regrets. And 5, you're still going to be held accountable for the results of those 3 million people seeing a post that has nothing to do with the event. Because the event here was talking about what? The stabbing of little kids. And you said that he was 17 years old. He was clearly not a 17-year-old. You said that this is the person who stabbed the little kids. It wasn't the person who stabbed the little kids. What Islam do you follow at this point? Like, where is God in the picture? Where's God the guarantor? Where's the God that's going to overlook your words and my words so that we're both being professional, where neither one is lying? Because if I lie to you, I have a fear of God. And if you're going to lie to me, there's a fear of God. So that's how I'm going to trust you. It's not because I'm trusting you. I'm trusting that you have fear of God in you, that you consider God in the picture. But when I see you constantly not caring about God in the picture, now I have zero trust for you. You're devil. You're an enemy to me. You're a person who's a hypocrite. You did not consider God. You're sitting there and now you're going to show how Islamic you are by using the word Muslim, but you're a complete bullshitter. That's what it is. That's what it is. That's the sign of hypocrisy that I saw from you in this little short clip. And anyone who doesn't want to agree with me in this, then you're a person that does not want to see the truth for what it is. Okay? It's not about there's another person and there was another stabbing. He completely lied.
Mosque is going to have to deal with God. I'm not worried about the full force of the law. They should worry about God itself. But I also want to make something very clear to all.
You notice how like the verses about hypocrisy, they will testify to God. That's what's in their heart. Well, okay, you called upon God, but you did not measure your own self. You're putting a standard on the people, but you're not measuring it on yourself. What about your words and what you did? Don't you have to answer to God as you said? But you think God is going to listen to you, that you're going to manipulate God, that you're going to sit there and have an interview with God. And of course, stare him down without blinking. Let's see how long I can get in a blink competition, right? On the day of judgment. Because you have
all the people at home, and clear to you that most of the white people are very frustrated and they're finding an enemy amongst themselves to take it out on. I think that the white people on these streets have a lot more in common with the brown people on these streets than they do with the politicians, because that's the problem we have here. Keir did not just only say they're going to face the full force of the law. He told everybody with a point of view, everybody who's concerned about the safety of their children, that they are extremists. And that is the most aggravating language you can possibly choose when people finally have had enough of not feeling safe on their own streets any longer. We have people who cannot afford to pay their bills watching migrants arrive who are now being held up in hotels at the taxpayers' expense for indefinite periods of time. We're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine. Nobody voted for it. Nobody wants it. And everybody's struggling to pay their bills. Energy prices are through the roof. Inflation is through the roof. Now they no longer feel safe on their streets. They don't want to put their daughters outside to play. The police won't protect them. The police won't turn up for most crimes unless it's something you say bad on Facebook. And when they look for a political solution, they're ignored. What kind of powder keg are we building here through incompetent leadership in the UK? This is nothing but a leadership failure. There's not a country in the world where leadership could fail this spectacularly.
But once again,
then at this point, you do what everyone else does. You plan a coup. You plan a revolution. You go against that failed government. You don't sit there and be like, well, no, it's going to blow up. It's going to pulse. Better kill some Muslims. Yep. Let's say that Tommy Robinson, the EDL, the person that really insulted your prophet and insulted your book and insulted God multiple times. Yep, he's right in what he's saying. That's how we're going to deal with it. We're going to kick out the migrants. Is that the solution now? So do you want? Okay, let's assume this, Andrew Tate. Let's take out all the immigrants from the UK, all these British or these non-British people, because they don't have the right skin color and they haven't had the right generations, and we send them all to Pakistan, okay? Every single one of them. Like, it doesn't matter if they're Syrians, Iraqi, whatever they are, because their lands got blown up by this entity that you're talking about. We all know this, but let's go send them back. And now all you have is British people, whatever you're going to consider British, maybe some black people, obviously some white people, and they're sitting in that country. What are they supposed to do? No, what are they supposed to do? When the fabric of that society has been ingrained with these migrants for so long, okay, for many, many years, for many decades, that if these migrants magically disappeared, your whole society will drop because you don't have the economics, you don't have the markets, you don't have the labor power, you don't have any force. What do you want to do? You want to scare them away? You're scaring away, like literally, the doctors that are dealing with the right wings, people who are getting hurt. You're scaring away the people that are engineers and they're taking the jobs of what the sophisticated mind is doing. Because the white man doesn't want to work. The white man's position is technically a managerial position everywhere you go because they're very good at managing what they have. But they're not the people that want to put the effort into things that they can make money somewhere else. This is what we call white privilege. This is what we call white power in the other places. Not racist power, it's privilege. They had privilege, which the other side also doesn't agree. So what are we supposed to do now? Should we now go riot and kick every British person out of our communities and white person from our communities because they have privilege? Oh, we don't have privilege in their own countries. But then you're a person that doesn't understand how education and the value of education works. You're making any argument that comes to your mind, but at the end of the day, you're not giving anything substantial. The only thing that you said, which is true, it's a problem of the government. It's the problem of the government, and you have to deal with the government. Okay, I protested. I tried to have a political voice. I debated with the politicians. They're not listening. Then do what you've been telling them for the last 10 years, Andrew Tate, on how powerful you are. You and the boys have some work to do. We'll leave the bitches at home. Me and the boys are going to get in the car and deal with a situation in the city. You turn them on the government, bro. What? Simple solution. Your kids are going to die, obviously. Your people are going to get hurt, obviously. You're going to have to go up against the really powerful, obviously. But that's how you deal with that situation. You don't want to do it, then shut up and eat the bugs. Like, shut up and eat the bugs. But to have them, deal with the situation with the government by killing a minority, which strategy, like, what 6D chess are we playing here, bro? Like, which 6D chess are we playing to a point where the solution for this kick that you're talking about is turning it on the people that came here illegally because they have nothing. So let's go kill them. Let's go burn them. Let's go burn their stores. Let's go burn. Okay, then what? Are you going to inherit it? No, you're not. Are you going to use it? No, you're not. You just destroyed property. You destroyed people's lives. You killed kids. You killed people. And then what was the solution? You're still uneducated. You still don't have a purpose in your life. You're still a drunk. You're still a drunkie. You're still a druggie. You're still consuming porn. You're still listening to losers like Andrew Tate. So you kill the migrants, you kick them out, and then what? So the problem is obviously, yes, failed government, you're correct, but lack of education, basic human education on how to treat your human being. So this whole polarization is what's not helping society, is what's breaking the fabric of society. Everyone putting labels, and now this label is demonetized, and this label is heavily monetized, and to have this label is good, and to have this label is bad, and you belong to this group and I belong to that group. This is the problem where people keep getting divided. You literally just added to it. You created a situation where that is now spread like a wildfire. But you're just too stupid to understand how it works because you just want the money.
And
once
see
again,
any
Andrew,
different result.
All right. But once again, Andrew, you are spouting nonsense in what you've just said.
Exactly.
Not all of it.
Everybody.
Some of it is nonsense. You say, for example, nobody voted for the UK to support Ukraine. We've literally just voted Keir Starmer in the United Kingdom with a landslide majority, and he made it crystal clear before that election that he would be contributing billions of our pounds to help the people of Ukraine thwart a Russian dictator. Well, you may laugh, but you just literally said the complete opposite. So we did actually vote for a leader and a party that was completely committed to dedicating billions of pounds of taxpayer money to helping people in Ukraine defeat Vladimir Putin. So that, again, is a complete untruth that you've just espoused.
I'm sure the people who are protesting up there in the...
And that's it, Rashid. He really took the worst form of what Islam is and how to treat women, and he tried to attach that to Islam, and this is his reason for conversion. Yet all the what he's doing and how he's presenting how women is, you can't treat a girl like that in Islam. But this is the people that he is. That's why you see these Salafi Dawah boys, when he first converted, they all bigged him up. But I was saying from the get-go, from like December 2022, I'm like, this guy is a problem. This guy is not the solution for your issues. This person is going to be a problem. I remember, I swear to God, as God is my witness, I was in a mosque. This is when I was in Canada at this point. This is in 2002. I was in a mosque, and the person who was leading the prayer he's younger than me, but he had a beautiful recitation voice. He led the prayer, right? And then we're sitting back. I sat next to him, and he's watching a clip of Andrew Tate. And I tell him, I'm like, this man called himself a god. Like, there's not a person that is. He called himself a lord not too long ago after his conversion. And the guy looks at me like he goes, well, I haven't seen it. Well, I did. I witnessed it. I'm a Muslim. I witnessed him call himself a lord. Is my testimony not enough for you? And he goes, well, you shouldn't put people down. Like, bro, you're the imam of the mosque. This man clearly said that there's another lord other than God. And now I'm the weirdo. Like, oh, well, you're just everyone else that hates on Andrew Tate. Yeah, I was right. like, because you can clearly see who they are. I just hope the world can understand the beauty of Islam. Okay. So one of the things that really upset me is the other side, okay, the far right wing. They never truly understood what the message of the Quran truly is. They're hating on a people that have a rendition of Islam that is very tight and difficult, okay? But the Islam submission to God is something that is extremely simple and beautiful because it solves all problems. It solves problems within any race, in any culture, in any language, in any understanding. It's not about you having to become Arabized or Pakistanized. Like I find that the more people become Muslim is by like them dressing more like the people in the Gulf, when that's not what Islam is. It's not like their language even starts changing by them inserting like Arabic words. I don't know if you got, like, whoever watches me for a while, you could clearly see that when I'm discussing, I try to avoid Arabic words because I'm discussing in English. We're communicating in English. I'll say like, peace be upon you. I might say salam alaikum, but I'll say again in English, peace be upon you. Praise to God. Exalted is God. I try not to use the Arabic terms because it's not an Arabic religion. The far right people, if they don't have to adhere to all this cultural norms that comes with Sunniism, they would actually appreciate what the truth of submission to God is, what the truth of what Islam is. It's such an international, beautiful thing that all these political laws that they build, if it adheres to the Quran, it's something that's beneficial. They would start to love the fact that there's migrants coming because then they're seeing opportunities to build in a world where it's difficult to build because we have these tyrants that are holding all these riches and all these money and all this power and influence. But me as a person that doesn't have much and I see somebody that's struggling and came here to my land illegally and he needs to be fed, if I fed him, it's worth more than the whole world on the day of judgment. I fed a person. I helped somebody survive. That's like making the whole world survive. But if they understood these concepts, then they would not hate whoever comes to their country, despite them having to be a guest for the next 6 generations, 5 generations. Yeah, there isn't a British person that can truly feel like he's at home in Britain. There isn't a British person or a Pakistani person or a Syrian person that would ever feel like home in Canada, despite them living there 2 or 3 generations. There is a natural way of seeing the world because of the community. And it's the same thing in the Gulf. There is no British man that's going to live in Saudi Arabia for 3 decades is going to think that he's a Saudi Arabian or that now he's part of the group. But there's a way to treat your guest where that guest can stay there indefinitely. And if there's a lot more guests, that's a huge opportunity. But this is what I mean by lack of education. And an idiot like that claims that he became a Muslim and he's still using this division that my brothers and these people and that people and those people are right and we need to do this and that and this, and it's just nonsense, man.
North of England who can't afford to pay their bills, who are watching migrants live for free in hotels, who don't feel safe at night because the police don't have enough resources to
Thank you, Drip Icy.
turn up and respond to crime, are very happy that we're sending money to Ukraine. You're completely right. Yeah, the fact he only had 20% of the populist vote has nothing to do with it. And the fact that every single party will send money to Ukraine because we live in a uni-party system.
Well, then if the problem is with the government, then why don't you just turn on the government? Why are you going to send your goons on the people who did not have a problem with Ukraine or did not have a vote in Ukraine or nor have anything to do with Ukraine? Why are you going to send your goons on people who just wear hijab because they believe it brings them closer to God? It's something that's so easily understood that you just don't care about.
Which is corrupt to the core in the first place. That's the reason why no matter who you vote for, the migrants keep coming, and no matter who you vote for, the money keeps getting siphoned out of the tax base and sent to Ukraine. That's the truth of it, is that most people are starting to realize and wake up from the matrix and understand there are no political solutions because it's all a scam and it's all a lie.
And the only way that I get a reaction from you is by me raising my voice and being aggressive. The only lie that I heard is just you mumbling a bunch of things and putting it together and saying a word salad in a way that seemed coherent to you for people to understand you. And this is how you're going to escape the matrix. You leave their lies, you leave their political schemes, and you come to mine. And you buy Daddy Coin, and you buy TRW, and you sign up for the real world. And I will tell you how to escape from this matrix, and you're going to be free from them, and you're going to worship me. Shut up, Andrew Tate. Start talking like a human being. This has nothing to do with Islam.
What we need is people to understand at home that we have to think outside the box and vote for somebody who's not part of this two-party, uni-party insanity, which is why I was a fan of Nigel Farage. Even if he sells me down the river, even if he says I'm a bad person, that's his prerogative and that's his decision to make. I still believe he's the best choice as a leader for the UK.
Well, Nigel Farage is not just... Well, hang on. Nigel Farage has literally just chucked you under a monumental bus. He's gone on LBC radio and he said the reason that he himself was promoting complete nonsense about the person who committed these heinous crimes was because of people like you. Andrew Tate, he names you. He says that you were responsible for spinning disinformation, which he was dumb enough to believe.
Yeah, brother, there's some truth in Code 19. I've said this a few times. There's some truth in Code 19, but Dr. Rashad Khalifa is not a messenger. I don't think he's a messenger. He did have some really weird takes that saying that the devil is the successor on the land and the devil is a temporary god. So technically, this messenger's this messenger's shahada is apparently there was no deity except the god and the devil temporarily, which is gonna take you away from any. But there's other things that he said which is completely problematic. A lot of his creed and the way that he approaches matters is actually taken from hadith, and then he says that hadith is not true. So I don't think Rashad Khalifa is a messenger. I think his duty was to show some of the Code 19, and that's what he needed to stick in. He didn't need to sit and try to give an exegesis of the Quran because he completely failed.
Well, I never said he was a Muslim.
Not completely failed, but failed in very important topics.
I never said he was a Syrian. I never said he was on the MI6 watch list. The only thing I could have got incorrect is that he was an undocumented migrant. And if Nigel Farage has done...
I could have gotten correct. I could have. It's not I could have gotten correct. Slippery, lying, like idiots that think that they're so professional, that cannot commit to anything other than if it has a favor to them, talk like this person talks. And this lack of commitment is extremely anti-Islamic because he can play the slippery word game, but he can't do it with God on the Day of Judgment.
On that's his decision. He'll have to live with his conscience. I'm not here to tell him how to think. I'm also man enough to be understanding that not everybody has to like me all of the time for me to agree with some of the things they say. The biggest problem we have in the world today is everybody's so emotional. Everybody's so upset all the time that if somebody says something bad about them, they pretend that person's completely bad. Nobody is completely bad. Nobody is completely evil. Everybody loves their children. Everybody wants to live in peace. A lot of people talk about the idea of war, but let me promise you, Piers, I'm a person who's had a very varied life. When you see people with machetes outside your door threatening you and the police aren't answering the phone anymore, you don't want war. The Muslims want peace. The white natives of the UK, the Christians want peace. Everybody wants peace. But when you have a political class which refuse to listen to absolutely anybody, do whatever they want, grind everyone into poverty irregardless, then you're going to have some sort of uprising. And it's unfortunate that the poor people, and I call them poor, I mean the average person, is turning on the average person as opposed to turning on the rich elites who are just plundering the country. That's the truth of what's happening here.
Well, what is...
You watched
I think
my
what is
video.
really...
We played it.
Yeah,
the only thing I had incorrect was that he was undocumented. That's the only thing you could perhaps say he was...
No, there's two things. Undocumented migrant. The word migrant is important. The word migrant is important because your whole discussion is about illegal migration and the migration problem. Okay, if you did not use the word migrant, because legally, technically, because you're a person who talks in a professional sense, okay, the word migrant cannot be used in a legal sense. You're talking about the politics, you're talking about government, you're talking about word usage. It's not how you feel who's a migrant and who's not. By law, you are not capable in a court of law to prove that that man was a migrant.
Who's incorrect. The London stabbing, Piers.
Like if the parents of those 3 kids sue you for this misinformation because it's pertaining to their children, they can sue you for illegal migrant.
The London Bridge attack, he was born in Pakistan. We want to sit here and talk about how a large contingent of the people committing terror attacks in the UK and the most heinous crimes are not natively English people. And when we need to sit here and address this without being called racist, without being called far right, I'm a mixed race Muslim and I'm pointing out this very obvious truth. If we're not going to be able to point out the truth, what do you expect besides anger?
See, the thing is, he keeps trying to paint that these migrants that are coming from Syria, that are coming from Pakistan, are causing the majority of the crimes. But I believe the statistics is showing otherwise. Because anytime a brown person that comes and says that they're committed a crime, to you, he's a migrant because of the way that you look at the human being. But there's also so many documented crimes that are done by white folk that don't take the media attention. Because even if a man with a machete stabs a kid, right, or stabs another man, it's not on the media because of him being white. Okay, so there is a good reason to put the migrants and to put the brown people every time they commit crime. Because here's the thing, and this is where you just don't get it, Andrew Tate. In 2001, when there was a terrorist attack on the United States done by a certain group of people in the Middle East, not the Arabs, not the Muslims, can't be any more clear. The whole point was to sit there and to demonize the Muslims and the Arabs, okay, right? So that America can have the right to bomb the Muslims outside of America. They're not demonizing the Muslims within their own countries, which is kind of a byproduct of what they did, but they're trying to show the savages are over there outside, okay? So because they were not demonizing heavily the Muslims in America, the result was the demonizations of the Muslims in the UK and the demonizations of the Muslims in Europe and the demonizations of the Muslim in the Middle East. And because of not understanding how culture works, they've also pinned the Sikhs and the Hindus with the Muslims. And then they made it synonymous that Arab is Muslim. Okay? So the demonization process that was occurring in the United States affected Britain a lot more than it did in America. So the whole reason why you have this group of people talking about the EDL and migration is the problem is due to the fact that what you're talking about right now is the demonization of a certain color group of people that are considered Arab and they're considered terrorist. And anytime a crime occurs, the words like undocumented migrant, watch list, Muslim, those buzzwords start to fly around. And in the UK, the issue with the UK is the size of the area is not the same as the Americans. So the point of demonization happens extremely quickly because they're constantly in your face. For you to see Muslims, technically Muslims, the way that Muslims are painted in the United States, you need to go to Detroit. You need to go to certain spots in New York. You don't see it in Texas. You don't see it in Seattle. You don't see it in major parts of New York. But in the UK, it's different. They're constantly in each other's faces. So for you to not understand these concepts and to see how that group, which you're saying that, well, I'm a Muslim and I'm half black and half white and clearly see it. Well, how come you can't see that they've been demonized for the last X amount of years, 20 years, and you're helping in it? And the reason why they've been demonized for the last 20 years, because a child that is 2 years old or 4 years old and witnessed whatever is happening or a 6-year-old that's witnessed whatever happened whatever happened in September 11, that 6-year-old now is, how old is he? He's about 27, 25 years old. Remember in 2016 and the Arab Spring and all of the things that led up to about what's going on in 2016 to 2018, anyone who's 6 years old became a military aged man. So for me to take what they were trying to do, which failed, to take all these military aged men and throw them in the Middle East and kill all these savages, it would have been very easy if their plan succeeded. But God had a plan and they had a plan and their plan failed because they were not capable of demonizing the Middle East to the standard where they wanted to literally take their military and kill these savages. But it did occur in the UK. It did go positive in the UK. If there was a civil war in the UK, which Elon Musk is trying to push because he thinks the Arabs is the enemy and all this nonsense as well, it is beneficial for them and their party to demonize the Arabs enough for the Zionists to accomplish what they want and for America to accomplish whatever they wanted in, well, it's technically the Zionists, in Iraq, in Iran, in Egypt. And I can't get into other details, which is clear, but if I get into it, I'm going to get in really deep trouble because they're going to understand that I know a little bit more than I should. But they have a certain plan that this thing in the UK is kind of salvaging what they failed in the United States. But you're too stupid to see it that way because you don't know how the real deep state works.
Well, I mean, the sheer brass neck, frankly, Andrew, of you lecturing me about the truth when you've spent the last...
Bro, you see, Maximilian Koresh is saying it. He's saying the exact same thing, technically what Andrew said, but you're saying it correctly, brother. You clearly said at the beginning, the problem isn't the migrants, okay, immigrants. He had to say the same things. The problem is not these illegal immigrants. It's not the fact that this undocumented illegal immigrant killed it. It's the fact that the government is allowing it. Then it would have been a whole different talk. It would have been a different thing.
Last week, spewing complete fake news bullshit is breathtaking, right? And also, I would say you've also been spewing stuff that is blatantly racist. On the 1st of August, you posted a cartoon saying, typical man from Cardiff. Let's look at that cartoon. This has had 11 million views.
Yeah, it's a taxpayer. It's a migrant arriving on the boat with taxpayers' money, and I think a lot of people are upset about that. I want to make something clear because I'm a Muslim myself.
When you say typical man from Cardiff, when you say typical, hang on, when you say typical man from Cardiff, you are again telling people that in your estimation, the person that committed this.
Notice this, okay? The guy put a brown picture. The guy put a boat. The guy put his knife. The guy put taxpayers. Where did Andrew Tate's mind go? I'm a Muslim. You see how he's trying to think steps ahead. Is like, oh, he's trying to call me an Islamophobe. No, I'm a Muslim. No one said anything about Islam. Nobody said anything about Islam when Piers Morgan was presenting to you what you put. But the reason why you put it in the first place, because in the back of your mind is Islam. Because you're not a Muslim. You're technically an Islamophobe, and you're technically on both that these Muslims have taken over your city, Leeds, or whatever that stupid city you are from Britain. It's not the city that's stupid. It's you who produced what you were produced out of that city is what makes it stupid. You understand that? There's probably good people from where you come from, but those are not the people that you hung around with. You hung around with losers. Losers that hated the Muslims at a young age because of September 11th and all the demonizations that you endured and watched. This is before your conversion, but this is embedded in your head because I can read you like a book, Mr. Demon Tate. Sorry, Andrew Tate. So you, Mr. Demon Tate, when I saw how you presented yourself right there and you said, oh, well, I'm a Muslim, you're trying to hide face at this point, and I caught you in your lie. And right now, as Piers Morgan, what I would push back is not even talk about Islam or the fact that you said Muslims. I'm going to talk about the fact that why did you say that he's have to be a brown person? The people from Ukraine are coming illegally, undocumented, and it's a whole catastrophe that's happening in Ukraine. I would have started to push back that there's illegal migrants that are white.
Came in as an illegal migrant on a boat. That is not true. None of that is true.
Well, what I'm actually doing, Piers.
Exactly, all praise.
Because you may not be aware of this because you're part of the legacy media machine, which is why you defended Israel so heavily.
I'm on YouTube.
You're not allowed to have your own opinion.
YouTube.
You're not allowed.
On legacy media.
You're part of the legacy
show
media
is on
machine,
YouTube.
and you're not allowed to have your own opinion.
When all fails, let's not start targeting the person in a way to try to diminish the other person's problem. I'm a Muslim. Oh, well, but you're also a Zionist, so haha, got you. Let's not talk about the fact that you literally got caught in your lie there. I really wish Piers Morgan at this point said, well, there's a lot of illegal migrants coming right now from Ukraine. What would have his answer been? He would have shut the hell up, because now he understood how he made it into a racist term, into a racist image. He could have put a white guy.
But let me explain something to you.
A lot of the Syrians that came are my color of skin. A lot of the Lebanese that came that were my colors of skin. A lot of the Iraqis that came were my colors of skin. We're not black. We're not brown. We're technically what people would consider white. You wouldn't know. If I shaved my beard and I'm walking down the street, most of the people think I'm Russian. Even when I went to Saudi Arabia, as I'm going into the haram, the person's talking to me wondering that if I'm Russian. When I go to Turkey, when I'm walking down the street, the people talk to me as I'm Russian. So a lot of them, these illegal migrants that you came, and I could show you a person that his store was burnt. The guy was whiter than the person interviewing him. I believe that person was either from Syria or that person was from Iraq. So just don't sit there and try to paint it as the brown person, because this is how you're demonizing people, and this is how you're a racist. When you're gonna sit there, and I'm sorry for this, when you're just gonna insert somebody with shut up N-word, right? With the hard ER. I don't have a problem saying it, but I think YouTube has a problem saying it, right? But if I go copy that and paste it to one of the replies to your dad, right? You're gonna be really upset that somebody said that to your dad, because you are a racist. You're not Islamic. You don't understand how Islam works. You have no fear of God. So all that what Piers did here was slap you really hard, and then you came back, well, bro, you say Zionist tropes. You're about to, because every time a hypocrite makes a confession about somebody, he ends up doing it. This is how God humiliates the hypocrites, by the way. So when you say, oh, I will never do a pump and dump in crypto, then you go do pump and dump in crypto. I will never be a racist, then you will go be a racist. I'm a person who's so pious, and then you go do some evil stuff. I'm a person who loves prayer, and then you don't pray. So every time a hypocrite says something, they have to go break their words. That's literally what hypocrisy is. God humiliates you this way. So you called weirdo over there, Piers Morgan, a Zionist, correct? But you yourself now is going to start using Zionist tropes. I'm calling it. I'm not prophesizing. This is how hypocrites work. This is how God taught me. I'm telling you, this man's about to start jumping on some Zionist tropes, especially that Tommy Robinson's a Zionist. So that already occurred.
Word of this will go up, as you know.
Perfect. I understand exactly how the media machine works. The fact that they kept highlighting that he's from Cardiff and showing pictures of him as a child, as opposed to showing pictures of him as the large, barbaric man he was, which stabbed.
Bingo. He knows exactly how the media works. He saw how the media was setting it up, and then he ate the bait. Do you understand how simple-minded his example was? I know how the media works. The media was trying to paint him as an illegal immigrant, so I fell for their trap. I assumed that it was an illegal immigrant, so I told my people it was an illegal immigrant, but that was the media's fault because they were not forthcoming with their information. So I made a bunch of assumptions on my own term. When God tells you to not say what you have no knowledge in, no, you went by your assumption, and God clearly said that there's a lot of sin in assumption, but there's assumptions that have sin in them. This is clearly one of them, because you don't know the information of the child, and then you made an assumption, and then you bit into what you said you know very well, and you failed. Stop acting like you're a god that knows it all, Andrew Tate.
Those little girls was a deliberate PR spin by the propaganda arm of the British government to try and subvert and subdue the UK populace, because they knew everybody would be outraged by what they saw. That's why every picture of him is he's a kid.
Honestly,
they keep saying he's from Cardiff. This was set up on purpose. Now, the point I was making is as follows.
He was literally born in Cardiff. The Matrix didn't pretend he was born in Cardiff. You've been posting cartoons of people coming in illegally, armed on little boats, because you want people to think that the person that did this was that person, but he wasn't.
You cut out there, Piers. I think I understood you.
Yeah, but a lot of what you're considering as not superpowers, but the technology that you built was actually inherited from the Middle East, where they did give up on the idea that there was multiple gods, or 3 equals 1 Lord's need. So the closer you are to the truth, the better your worldview is. So you have the world answering you back in a way that is a lot more efficient, a lot more positive. That's why we had the Islamic Golden Age, where a lot of Christians, people who did think that Jesus was 3 equal 1, they converted to the ideology that no, Jesus is a messenger of God and he's a prophet of God, but he is not God, nor is he equal to God, nor is he the son of God. The people that accepted that, they were seen an easier worldview, where it's a lot more, where it made more sense, where you did not need to worry both about Jesus and the Father. You just had to worry about what you consider the Father. So they were capable of advancing very quickly. But then what happened was, these people in the Middle East, after they advanced very quickly, they fell into a trap where they started to focus and subconsciously worship the prophet rather than put the focus on God. And this is when their worldview became bleak, and this is when you guys apostated, stopped saying the lie about Jesus, stopped saying the lie about God, and you just chose the world life. The majority of them just chose the worldly life with a few concepts of religion, but they didn't really exist. So you took whatever the Arabs started, and then you kind of carried it on. This is all by God's permission, what God has planned, because God says that he turns the blessing from one group to another so that he tests us with each other. It's very easy for whatever you built in the UK and whatever to get transferred to China, for example, right? And then China carries on what you guys started, and then you guys look like the savages in the 50, 60 years to come, because you just want to talk about like immigration laws and be the far right and call yourself a lord. What? Lord Sneed, right? And then you get in trouble. So just please, let's not call each other clowns, okay?
I'm a Muslim myself, so there's no reason why I want any kind of...
Islam is the submission to God. So if you're submissive to God, you have to understand that God does not like lies, and he does not accept lies, okay? So you constantly lying, you constantly peddling that you used to do pornography and you do not regret it. You constantly calling yourself Lord in really weird ways. You saying that you're going to go worship the Lord Jesus Christ. All of those things took you out of Islam a long time ago. For you to be a Muslim, you have to admit that what you did is wrong. You have to actually feel guilty with it, because now there is so much against you that if you go to hell, it's proper. Because you went and hurt 9 million people, 11 million people, 3 million people with your posts. A lot of people were hurt with your lies, but you don't want to take responsibility. So stop saying that you're a Muslim and show that you're a Muslim. How about we go there?
Violence against Muslims. That's the first thing that's very clear. And I want to make something else very clear.
Al-Jabr. That's what it is. Al-Jabr. An algorithm is actually is the name of the person, Al-Khwarizmi, which is algorithm. And in chess, they say that checkmate comes from Sheikh Mat, which means like the king is dead, or the sheikh is dead, which I think it's also from the Persians. But anyways, the Persians also had their role in the Islamic age. But yeah, Ashley, algebra.
Actually in a quite unique scenario as a Muslim revert, half black, half white. I've had both sides of this dichotomy try and recruit me, perhaps. I can't be taught to hate anybody. There's no Muslim.
Bro, no one is trying to recruit you. We're just telling you to shut up. Just shut up. You cannot be recruited for the Muslims because you don't know how Islam works. You don't have Islamic knowledge. So stop trying to promote yourself as a Muslim when you do not post anything about you praying or about you doing anything in regards to Islam. So stop trying to think that anyone is recruiting you. You just need to shut up at this moment. You are a person with a big platform about cryptocurrency and about women. Stick to what you know. At this point, you need to just shut up.
Muslim alive who can teach me to hate anybody, and there's no white man alive who can teach me to hate anybody. There's no hate in my heart, there's only love. But when you have love, you have protectiveness. And you have to feel a protectiveness for the things you care about. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand. We call people hateful all the time for having a point of view, especially when they get out on the street because they feel like they need to express it. A lot of these people were not hateful. A lot of these people were full of love and they were full of concern.
You've literally encouraged people to feel hateful. You've encouraged people to feel hateful because you've encouraged people to believe the person that did this crime, this alleged person that did it, because it's going to court, we have to let the process do its due process. But the person who's been charged with the crimes of...
Guys, he's going to make it about himself. I just saw some. I'm just going to make a prediction here. I could be wrong. I don't know. I really don't know. But Andrew Tate is just going to hear he heard something. He's about to make it about himself because of the whole court thing.
Killing these poor girls is not an illegal migrant. But you wanted to demonize illegal migrants by what you've been doing in the last week. You wanted people to believe this was one of the people who come over on a boat illegally into this country, part of the so-called invasion. And here's the interesting thing about your position with regard to your conversion to Islam and becoming a Muslim. Muslims, as you know, have been ranting about you for the last few days and utterly betraying them because you've decided to associate yourself with Tommy Robinson, who is a far-right thug, who has been spewing utter, horrible Islamophobic, anti-Muslim rhetoric all week. And yet you have not distanced yourself from him. So the Muslim community in the UK now view you as part of the enemy too. You know that. How do you feel about that?
Well, I pray for my brothers, and I think the information I've seen and the replies I've seen have not been hateful from the Islamic community. Saying to Tommy Robinson that I will debate him on issues, I don't think is failing to distance myself. I debate you all the time, Piers, and we disagree on basically everything. I'm happy to argue with Tommy because we disagree on so many different points of view, and I think it's very important that we have conversation. The reason these riots are happening in the first place is because everybody's afraid to talk. I'm prepared to sit.
Okay, so this is where he is now playing the word game. He got caught. He's literally wrote a post saying, I agree with a lot of what Tommy Robinson said. And then he deleted the post. So it does not mean that he wrote a post saying like, hey guys, I found the error in what I said and therefore I repent. I'm sorry guys. I now understand that Tommy Robinson said a lot of lies about the Prophet Muhammad. He insulted our Prophet. So I regret my actions. I am sorry. and as God is my witness, I disassociate myself from this person. No, he, like a little bitch, and I'm sorry I have to say this word, he just deleted the post as if nobody saw it. And then the weird Dawa guys are saying, well, he deleted it and that means he corrected himself. No, correcting yourself is not by you becoming a snake and hiding in the bushes and then saying, well, I'm willing to debate my old friend, which he literally calls him an old friend at one point, so that I have an acquaintance with him. So the betrayal is not because of what you're saying about Tommy Robinson, but rather you're saying that a lot of what he said was true in regards to illegal immigration. But it goes back to the point in the first place, Mr. Andrew Tate. It wasn't an illegal immigrant. It wasn't an illegal migrant. You used the word illegal migrant. So that underlying problem that was occurring in the United Kingdom, you exacerbated it, you made it more, you fueled on the fire by using those two terms, and then you did not apologize. And then you doubled down by saying that a lot of what Tommy Robinson says is true, okay? And then you doubled down saying that you rather see Nigel Farage big you up and agree with him, who Nigel Farage clearly states that it's very difficult for Muslims in the way that they see it to actually find themselves like the Muslim community cannot fit in the British society. He said that clearly. He's not about right or wrong. He's being technically correct in the way that the Muslims approach their moral values, that it will not jive with British moral values. But the right wing see it in a different way. The thugs see it in a different way. So again, Andrew Tate, what you did there is you made it about yourself, and you're not taking responsibilities for your actions. You're not putting God in the picture. You know God very well. On the day of judgment, he's going to show you the post that you deleted and say, no, you did line up with him and you did upset the Muslim community and you were being racist. You did put a brown person on a boat. You did use the word Paki. You did say that you rather have Britain overrun by Russians rather than Bengalis. So you made a chain of supremacy in your mind, which was completely racist. It's anti-Islamic, and now you're crying, oh, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Muslim. You're a liar. You're a piece of shit at this point.
Sit down with somebody I don't like.
Hi, Yetta. I'm sorry.
That's complete nonsense. That's nonsense. The reason the riots are happening is people like you and Tommy Robinson have been spewing utter disinformation, which has led people to believe that the person that perpetrated these despicable crimes was an illegal Muslim migrant who was on the MI6 terror watch list.
Firstly,
right. I'm saying you and Tommy Robinson,
let's be careful.
between you, okay. I'm saying between you,
but
you
where's
put
the
out
logic
there
failure?
a completely false impression.
Where's the logic failure when the discussion right now is about illegal immigration? Where's the problem? The case itself, the original case of the child that got stabbed, he was not an illegal migrant. So why are we discussing illegal migration? And this is the trigger point because of your misinformation. So if you want to be logical, let's just be actually properly consistent and logical in what we're saying. Again, the proper Muslim message to you, Andrew Tate, if you still want to consider yourself as a Muslim, shut up. Just shut up. Go worry about your own money and just shut up, because you're not saying the right things at all, because you don't know what Islam is.
Logic failure of lumping me in with somebody who I don't agree with and saying, oh, you and him said X.
So do you denounce Tommy Robinson?
Tommy Robinson and I disagree on a whole bunch of issues. I think he's completely incorrect on his view of Islam. We're not playing this game of constant...
He is going to start to say Zionist tropes. You understand me? Tommy Robinson is his key into UK political doors. He cannot denounce Tommy Robinson. He just got caught. Because now he's sending signals, okay? This is him sending signals. It's not because any proper Muslim in his head, yeah, I denounce him. This man insulted the Prophet. The fact that he is now playing this game is showing his signal. He's showing his side.
Do you denounce him for inciting the...
If we can end the video anywhere, it would be right here, by the way. Just this comment right here shows you the heart of Andrew Tate, how he is not a Muslim. God clearly states in the Quran, okay? God clearly states in the Quran, those that fight you in your religion, okay? Those that take you out of your homes, you are not to ally with them. You are not to be friendly with them. You are not to sit there and become like buddy-buddy with them. And whoever does has completely strayed away from the path of God. And they are the oppressors. The man insulted your prophet. The man said that Muslims don't belong in Britain. The man is telling people to kick people out of their homes. And the man hates Islam to its core. And you to not denounce him in the time when you're supposed to denounce him, clearly shows that God is not guiding you. And because God is not guiding you, Andrew Tate, you are now have absolutely zero ground to stand in front of the proper Muslim community. Sunnis want to whitewash you, they want to wipe your butt, they want to put you up, put you down in front of an eye of a proper Muslim, because you cannot denounce the enemy of God, the enemy of the prophets. Then you have absolutely no ground to stand on, and you're from them. So it's the game over for you.
The rioting.
I denounce him for everything bad he said about Islam. He's absolutely incorrect, and I cannot be his friend or support him for that reason.
For inciting
However,
the
I do
rioting
understand
by
there's a lot
telling
of people.
I denounce him for what he said for Islam, but it's to denounce him as a human being, he won't. Like, he's playing these really bad signaling games.
People, it was a Muslim illegal
I'm not going to say
migrant.
it's not for me. It's not for me to decide who has incited the rioting, and it's not for you to decide.
Well, you
either.
can't
It's for
denounce that.
A court. Denounce what? I'm not going to sit here and say who's
Tommy
in charge of the
Robinson
riots because
telling
nobody
people
knows.
he was an illegal
My
Muslim.
My view on why the riots happened is because I believe that the native population, the Christian population of the UK, feels like their voice is not heard. I think if their voice was heard and they had correct
No, that's
political
not why the
representation,
riots
these
happened.
things would not be happening.
That's not why the
That is
riots
exactly
happened.
why
The
they
riots
happened,
happened.
Piers.
The
That's
riots
why they
happened because
happened.
people
because
like
things are written
no,
on
the
social
riots
media
happened
all day,
because,
every day,
no,
and there's
Andrew,
no riots.
No, Andrew,
People finally
let me
had
respond.
enough after endless attacks where they felt like they did not get a voice
Let me
anymore
respond.
politically.
The people who rioted were the ISIS of the UK and the right-wing fascists. And for you to release the thugs, you need your leader to give the word with enough evidence. You were sitting there supporting said leader, and now you want to denounce him because of what he said of Islam, but what he said is right. You clearly don't understand how, one, the human behavior works, especially with sheep, okay, especially with the lowest end of the lowest end. You don't know how thug life works, or why you try to paint yourself as a thug life. And three, the amount of softness that I saw for the enemies of God just clearly shows you have absolutely no ground to stand on, Andrew Tate.
When you don't have a political avenue, you're going
respond.
to choose a violent one. I think Tommy is wrong about Israel, just like you were, because you were supporting the genocide in Gaza, and I stood up against you for that. I think Tommy's
No, I
wrong on a
wasn't
whole bunch
supporting
of
any
issues.
genocide in
However,
Gaza.
he has a voice. Yes, you were. He has a voice, and I'm prepared to sit here and debate with him, and I'm prepared to correct him on the things he's wrong about. And for you to sit and then you support a genocide, and you're going to say I'm a bad person for saying that little girls shouldn't get stabbed by people who don't belong in the UK in the first place. I don't care if you're a Muslim. I don't care if you're a Christian,
what
black
you're
or
doing,
white.
okay.
So little girls getting stabbed by people who shouldn't belong in the UK in the first place, yet the person came legally and the person took the paperwork required for him to be a person from the UK, and he is a legal person, and then he committed a crime, and now you're saying that he's not allowed to be there based on what? Based on the color of his skin? Then you get the hell out. It's very simple. So what's the only reason why this person who is a Christian 17-year-old, not neutralized, actual citizen of the British country, what's the problem now, Andrew Tate? So if you really want to talk fast, so what's going to be the discussion about you and Tommy Robinson? Okay, are you going to just sit there and discuss to him about how Islam is a religion of peace? But everything that you're saying about immigration and illegal immigrants is true. And yes, it's very right that the Pakis and the Bengalis are taking over the British island. Is that what the discussion is going to be on a debate? What are you going to be correcting him in? Because you're not correcting him in the fact that this was not an illegal migrant, this is not an illegal person, and it wasn't a citizen who committed a crime, and he was not a Muslim. Yet the person said that it was a Muslim, illegal migrant, and you used the same tropes. If you were not a Muslim, a fake converted Muslimist, okay, or a Muslim, whatever, Sunni, at the end of the day, you would have also used the trope of Muslims. Do you understand that? It's because you're trying to represent a community for you to steal their money. You did not use the word Muslim. But if you were just not a person of that collective in your mind, you had no problem using the word. And God is my witness, this is an easy prediction to make upon you, of you. Is because of how you clearly present yourself and how Tommy Robinson, as you said yourself, was right on a lot of what he said.
Nobody should be turning up into the country without a passport.
I'm going to
Absolutely
respond.
Nobody.
I'm going to respond by saying this. I believe the successive Labour and Conservative governments have completely lost control of immigration to our country, both legal and illegal. They all promised tens of thousands net migration. It's never happened. We now had nearly 1 million people come in last year, net 700, 800,000, whatever it is, most of them legally, completely outrageously large number, which is unsustainable for a country as small as the United Kingdom. We've also got a big issue with, although a much smaller issue, I would argue, with the illegal people coming in on these boats and some of them dying in the process, which is an appalling human tragedy perpetrated by evil traffickers, and this has to be dealt with. So on that, I completely agree.
And just to add to the point, there was the problem with COVID where there was a lot of incentive that was given back to the citizens in Canada, in Britain, in Australia, in countries where it's considered the Commonwealth. There was a lot of kickback that went from the governments back to the people. This was also part of the plan. They know that this COVID is going to hurt the economies and there's going to be a lot of people sitting at home and people needed to take back from the taxes. So now they need to have a new budget so that they can push back from the 2 or 3 years that they had this problem with COVID in. So their response is to try to bring as much migrants in from the other overseas is so that in 2, 3, 4 years, they have more people having to pay tax. Because now that I have more people paying tax from these little guys, I am now capable of matching the budget that I wanted to do in the first place while COVID came. So they're trying to bring all these easy migrants in is just so that they could have a bigger budget later when the taxes starts coming in from these neutralized people. But the way that you're seeing it is the way that they're just trying to pin people together. Yes, they're chips in a war and they're chips when things are going bad, but it's also a way for me to get money. Why? Because I'm bringing people that are literally going to pay me, because you white people don't want to pay. You white people don't want to work. You white people want to just get drunk and do whatever you want. That's fine. I gave you the environment to enjoy yourself, but you're not going to clean the streets. You're not going to drive the buses. You're not going to drive the cabs. I'm going to bring people who are going to do this job and some of your jobs because they're easier to control, they're easier to manage, they respect the law because they're scared of the law, and I will get their money. Are there going to be criminals coming in? Yes. Why are there criminals coming in? Because there is no papers for me to check. I can't go and say to a person coming from Pakistan or coming from Syria, hey, how about, or from Iraq, hey, can you bring me like a background check on that, like you didn't have problems in the countries that you're coming from? No, because that kind of process doesn't really exist. Because we don't have courts, we don't have that cop system, we don't have that organizations that you have here. So we're gonna go on good faith and bring you in because of these set points that we have for you. But the guy comes, does a crime. It's because the person himself didn't want to excel. This is where you guys have absolutely no idea what you're saying. Piers Morgan is right. Andrew will not even consider this because he made his money pimping. When you make money easy, money has no value to you. When you get really rich making money in an illegal way, you don't see the struggle of the person that actually had to go and raise kids on just your day-to-day, of him leaving his country, going to another country, trying to set up and put the work in and try to stick to the laws. And I don't want to have troubles, but it's very nice to have the British passport because now I have my freedom. I'm going to give my kids an opportunity. That's the majority of the people coming.
My issue with what's happened in the last week is that we have got Elon Musk talking about there now is going to be an inevitable civil war in the United Kingdom. And I've noticed what he hasn't done, I've called him out on this today, in his series of attacks on Keir Starmer, the new British Prime Minister, he has tried to paint a picture that there is one rule of policing the right-wing thugs who've been attacking mosques.
Did he try?
Well, they have, as you know, and another rule for Muslims walking around armed to the teeth looking for white people to attack. I think both are completely reprehensible, and I'm easily able to say that. The problem is Elon Musk has said nothing condemnatory about the initial rioting, which has continued to go on, which has been anti-Muslim and directly targeting mosques and Muslims for something that they had nothing to do with, which was the killing of these children. And I have a massive problem with that.
Yeah.
And
Guys, I did also make a pre-prediction. I said today the Sunnis are gonna put the pitchforks down from Piers Morgan, and they're gonna be happy with Piers Morgan until the next time that Piers Morgan supports a Zionist, and then the pitchfork comes up and the cycle continues because the Sunnis have a problem being consistent on the way they view human beings. This person is a snake. Piers Morgan is a snake. He's not defending the rights of Muslims. He's here to humiliate Andrew Tate. If that means that he's going to side with the Muslims in the meanwhile, he'll do it. But it doesn't mean he likes Muslims or that he's not a Zionist. For you to think that you like Piers Morgan, sure, he's doing what a normal human being would do. But he's not in the favor of your interest. He's doing what Andrew Tate is doing, but Piers is doing it better while he's not a Muslim. Andrew Tate is trying to use the same tropes that, hey, like it's about defending Muslims and all this and all that, but he's completely failing on it. So don't be like very like happy that Piers Morgan is completely destroying Andrew Tate. But hypocrites have a point where they fly high and then they crash really hard. And we're watching the crash.
You have boxed yourself, if you don't mind me saying.
So do I, sir.
Well, hang on.
So do I, sir.
Hang on. You have boxed yourself into a position now where your own Muslim community in the UK are enraged with you because they believe you are siding with Tommy Robinson, who is leading a far-right series of attacks on Muslims and mosques and is being blatantly Islamophobic in the process. And you know that. And so what do you say to the Muslim community who believe that's what you're doing?
Well, if there's a small contingent of the Muslim community which believe that, I've yet to see so much vitriol like you're pretending exists. But I want to make it very...
Another lie. He went around calling a lot of Muslims that called him out, you're gay, you're a snowflake, and all this other nonsense. There's a lot of people that are telling you to shut up. A lot of people are telling you to shut up. But you are blind to the fact on purpose because they're lying.
Clear. I want to make it very clear, Piers. I'll make it very clear here. I will answer the question. I am an Islamic revert, and I do not want to talk scripture because there's people more qualified than I, but I'll make it clear. I lead with love in my heart. The Islam I was taught was one of peace and tolerance. There's not a single person alive who can force me to take sides or to hate anybody else. And I don't care what kind of Islamic person you are, to come along and tell me I should hate somebody else because of Islam is not the kind of Islam I prescribe to.
But this is not what we're trying to tell you. We're trying to tell you is that the way that you're approaching the matters is completely un-Islamic because it's not about taking sides. It's about understanding the other side and what your side is going through. Because if you're claiming that you're a Muslim, the people that are getting attacked are the Muslims. It's not the fact that it's about you taking side or the other side. It's the fact that the other side should not have attacked the first place. So you as a Muslim, you have to be fair in your judgment. So if you want to be fair in your judgment, the person that did the killing was not a Muslim and he was not a migrant. So attacking migrants and attacking Muslim is not a fair way to deal with whatever occurred in that flashpoint event. But for you to sit there and try to exaggerate and try to put fuel on the flashpoint event that it was a migrant and that he could have been a Muslim, then this is where you failed the Muslim community. So you did take a side. It's not about you trying to force and all this nonsense that there's all this like virtue signaling that you give to people that no one will force me to take a side because you already took a side. You're talking about love and all this stuff that Islam comes, but Islam is also about not loving the devil. Islam is about not loving things that God doesn't love. And the side that is throwing acids on women's faces, this is not a side that you want to sit there and talk, because the leader of that show, Tommy Robinson, he has no problem with acid going on the face of hijabis. Okay, so if I was in the UK and I seen somebody put acid on anybody's face, I'm gonna go take that person and completely, as much as I can, humiliate him. Okay, because this is not the way that you deal with things. But those are the concepts that you don't put in your mind. That it's not about picking sides. You just don't have the authority to speak on the matter because you're not approaching it correctly. You didn't talk about illegal immigration correctly. You don't understand about the dehumanization of Muslims. You don't understand that the Muslims had nothing to do with it. You don't understand that mosques are being burnt. You don't understand that Muslims are being targeted. And to you, it's not your fault. I didn't do anything. Well, then you're stupid, bro.
I have half of my family which is Christian, half of my family which is Muslim. I'm half black, I'm half white. I do not want either sides of my family to face any kind of violence on the streets. I'm the person who's been calling for peace. You're reading out the odd tweet here and there. Why don't you read out the 30 tweets I tweeted explaining that we need peace on the streets and we need to restore some form of democratic representation to the House of Parliament?
Because that's not how the life works. Because if I'm going to sit here and be like, hey, my ISIS thugs, why don't you go attack those groups of people? Because that group of people is stealing your jobs. And after they attack them, and my people are saying like, hey, you shouldn't have done that. You should not have ISIS attacking Sunnis. And me now making 30 posts saying, look, no, guys, it's about the conversation. It's about peace and it's about that. As if my first post did not start the whole event. So just You need to calm down. You need to stop talking to people with your arrogant style because it's not working anymore. We can clearly see through you. We understand your lies. We see your hypocrisy. You're not the Lord that is worthy of worship. So you need to just shut up and move along. You want to be a Muslim and you want to pray and do your Islamic duties? Do that. But you're going to talk about the community and what the community should do and shouldn't do. And you're going to talk about political issues that you have absolutely no idea how they work. You need to shut up and just move on.
You only choose and lie by omission and try and pretend there's a problem where there's not. I love all of my Islamic brothers, and I also love every Christian, Buddhist, and Hindu. I'm a person who has no hate in his heart, and if anybody has a problem with me personally, I'm happy to speak to them about it. But all in all, I've not seen this
Jewish
hate that you're
people?
pretending exists. I've actually seen unlimited
Jewish
support.
people?
I've actually seen huge support from the Islamic community. That's what I've seen, because they understand that in Islam we teach each other to live and love
let me
with
read
peace.
you.
We're not.
You see, the people that he's talking about, I had a huge support. It's his own crowd. It's his own tater tots. That if he wrote like, hey, like, come sign up for this course, this Muslim community will be like, yeah, let's sign up for this riba course. He is taking his understanding from not the people who represent the Muslim community. He's talking about the people who have absolutely no idea what prayer is. They don't know how many surahs there are in the Quran. They don't know who Prophet Muhammad actually is. They're just Muslim by identity is the people he's talking about. But the people who have actual knowledge of the situation that's occurring and the people who are trying to bring peace and try to discuss it with the other side, no, you're an idiot. You're a moron. You're getting support from both sides of the tater tots. You're getting supports of the stupid right wing that have absolutely no idea what they're doing. And you're getting the support of Muslim children that have absolutely no idea what the religion preaches. The people that have no problem drinking and then saying, yeah, Islam is peace. So you're not sitting here playing the fun game. What you're doing is something that is extremely, extremely demonic. You're playing the devil advocates on both, trying to massage both sides. I just want peace. I just want peace. This is what you're doing. You're being Iblis. It's not peace, it's Iblis. La'natullah alayh.
Sitting here to try to hurt each other. And actually, one more thing.
Stop talking for a moment.
I will say to the Muslim brothers, I will say this. We need to show the world that we are not the hateful ideology they think we are. We need to show the world that we believe in God and we trust God and that we're going to stand up for our beliefs and we're not going to allow ourselves to be watered down or walked all over. But we also need to understand that there's this terrible perception of us that has been painted by the Western media machine, and I like to live with love. When I tell people I'm a Muslim,
you just literally did it though yourself. Like this is the problem with people who get caught. They know the words that need to be said so that like you would be accepting of them. They're trying to make you accept them with their words, but their hearts are sealed. This is rida fil tam, like fil tim. This is just giving you lip service. If he was honest about what he's saying, if it's about love in this, he needs to condemn the people who are burning mosques. He needs to condemn Tommy Robinson, and he's gonna need to be very clear that the Muslims were not part of the stabbing that started this whole thing. Is there a problem with immigration? Yes, but you started this war. Let's say this civil war, as Elon Musk wants to paint it, by your narrative. Like, why are we going on for like an hour? And I do have to go soon, by the way, because it's getting close for me to pray a prayer. Why are we doing this whole like dance when you just don't want to commit to your sin? Why don't you just say like, I made an error. I said the words that I shouldn't have said, which caused people to have a wrong reaction that caused a lot of kids to die. Not the 3 kids, other children, other people getting hurt, other people getting beat up and burnt.
I see fear in some people's eyes, and I spend a lot of time trying to talk that fear out of them. There's love in my heart. There's nothing but love in my heart for everybody.
Yeah, you keep saying there's so much love in your heart.
I will pray.
Fine. There's a lot of love in your heart, but not, it appears, when it comes to... Yeah, but your first response to the murders of these children was to issue a video in which you spew complete nonsense about the perpetrator being an illegal migrant to this country.
And by the way, Islam teaches you there is no love for the side that wants to kick you out of your house and fight you in your religion. There is no love for them. You understand that, Andrew Tate? You cannot love the side that wants to kick you out of your home and ban your religion. There is no love for them. This is what God said. Are you gonna sit there and tell God, no, it's about peace and it's about loving your enemy and having kumbaya with the devil at this point?
That does
Hasbunallah.
not fill people with love.
God is sufficient for us against people like Andrew Tate that wants to wash Islam in a way where you have no rights to stand on. And it's all about love and peace, even if the other side is literally burning you with acid.
It makes them hate
disgusting.
all illegal immigrants to this country, as well you know. On August the 4th, you retweeted
Piers,
the
you're
notorious white supremacist Nick Fuentes on the subject of the riots. And as you said,
Tim, ha 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 ha, I didn't ban you. I have moderators that banned you because of your rubbish. It's not about refuting you. I'm talking about a topic that has nothing to do with you or Tim or whatever you want. I allowed your comments to go and I stopped replying to you because you're obviously a person who's very deluded in your thinking. I don't waste my time with garbage. But if you want, I have people that are banning you. I'm not banning you, but you could stay banned.
Said this, or he said this, Fuentes. It's clear that not only are these protests being amplified and directed by Zionist plants on social
Premier, you hit it. Sometimes you need to kick the devil in the face and you need to keep kicking. Kick him in the devil in the face so he stops talking. You need to keep kicking because if you... God clearly states in the Quran, I'm going to say this on a big screen, okay? God says that he pushes people to go at each other, okay? Because if he didn't, there would be a lot of corruption in the land. That means the evil people are constantly causing corruption in the land. If the Muslims and the believers don't go at them, there will be a lot of corruption in the land. And people will leave the mosques and people will leave the churches and synagogues and whatnot. Because it's just going to be extreme corruption as we have now. The Muslim has to fight corruption, like physically fight corruption. Because we're not people that like to cause wars. We're not people that like to go out and cause problems. But the evil person is very easy to beat, especially when it gets to the physical realm. Okay? He's very easy to beat. But if you're not willing to fight, there will be a lot of corruption in the land. So God pushes the believers to physically fight them when they're physically trying to fight you. We're outnumbered. We're always outnumbered. They have more physical strength in certain times. But we have God on our side. So their physical strength does not match us. And their equipment will not be sufficient for them. And their numbers is not going to avail them. As long as the Muslims are physically fighting, then you are physically keeping corruption down. The second you put your sword down, then the Middle East gets cut up into 35 different countries. You have 35 different rulers. Your religion is no longer valued. And whatever you do, you're always going to be oppressed. This is exactly what's going on in the UK. They came to try to kick your face in. You kick their face in. It's a minority versus a minority. Okay? The minority wants to get physical and come to your mosque and hit you and hit your kids. You beat the living crap out of them. You get to an area where they're checking if you're driving the car, if you're white or brown, and you're driving the car, you press the pedal and you take them out. Because those people will take you out. And at that point, the law can intervene and you can get in trouble and whatever. You can sit in jail for a little bit. But you knew in your head you fulfilled God's word. And those that strive in God's message and God's word, they will find an exit in a way they will not know. You're not out to hurt the person. You're not out to kill people. You're not out to run people over. But if they're coming at you to attack you, you don't stop until they stop. This is what God said in the book. So it's not about love and kumbaya and love your enemy and all of this and let's hug the devil and let's talk it out. Because the devil doesn't want to talk it out. The devil wants to corrupt in the land. There is no trying to explain Islam to the deaf, dumb, and blind right-wing Nazi fascists that they don't care about themselves. Because after they're done, they go get drunk and they act like stupid and they fight among each other in their pubs. Okay? So Andrew Tate, when you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to Islam, it's not just love and peace and harmony. That's what we're trying to achieve. But sometimes you need to kick the devil in the face so you can keep maintaining the love, peace, and harmony. Man, I can't believe I'm talking like basic, like Islamic values to a person that clearly isn't a Muslim.
Social media, but the mayhem will also catalyst a major crackdown on speech.
Okay, so here you go. Maxi, alhamdulillah, my battery's not completely dead. This is what I suggest you do if you're in the UK, okay? This is exactly what I would do. I'm not going to tell you my plans because I'm making my plans. Yeah, so my camera's about to die, by the way. So this stream's about to end soon. But this is my message to anybody who's a Quran alone, Sunni, Shia, sitting in the UK. You need to find your local mosque or your local city where there is a riot going on. You go commit to that city. And you find the mosques and you find the places where the Muslims are gathered. You sit and wait. No yelling, no discussing, no debating, no discussion. One of them moves a line that you've put in your head. He crosses that line. It's physical at that point. They want to destroy the places of worship of God. You destroy that human being. God is on your side. They want to attack somebody that did no crime, that they're attacking somebody who is not worthy of attacking. You attack. You get hurt. You get caught by the cops. You have in your mind where you have not transgressed. So even by the laws of that government, you have not transgressed against their law. Don't yell. Don't cause riots. Don't hit people that shouldn't be hit. Do not be the first one to throw the stone. And all you have to do is be God's servant. So if you in your mind, you know that you're God's servant, God will take you to the place where you are required. If you just truly follow the signs of God and you put it in your heart that God, I am here as one of your soldiers. Take me where I am needed. You will find yourself in a position where you don't turn your back. That's all I'm going to tell you. But you don't incite violence. You don't try to make the other side. You don't egg them on. Because the second you cause a little bit of oppression or the second you transgress, God is not on your side. And you would probably lose because they have different numbers and they have a different system than you would understand. So if I was sitting in Britain, I would go to my local mosque. People want to pray inside, they'll pray inside. I will sit as a guard all night if I have to, for nobody to touch a stone, a rock from the place of worship that's God. I don't care that Sunnis are inside. I don't care that it's Shias inside. I care that this is a place where they go say the name of God and they prostrate to God however they see it. And anyone that wants to disturb that peace, I will wreck him with whatever God gave me as a resource in that moment. That's it. Am I inciting for violence? No. Am I telling you to be a man? Absolutely. You're women? If you see a Muslim woman walking by herself, however weird that is, stay not with her, but keep a distance where you're watching over her, wherever destination she is in that vicinity. You're not stalking her. You're not trying to make conversation. You don't need to know her or anything. But if you see there's a white group of people that are looking suspicious and you see a woman walking by herself, make yourself present. Make yourself known and presence. Be in a group. Being in a group is going to be better because it's having numbers is easy. You believing that you're serving God in that moment is truly how you keep your will against the enemy, because they'll see it in your eyes and they'll turn away and they'll run. I promise you this. If you in that moment, you know you're God's soldier, you're not a person that's causing crime, you're not a person that's going to transgress, you're not a person that's out there to get revenge. You're a person that will sit there to defend. Okay? That's it. But all in reality, and this is the sad part, there is no end to this story. Okay? There is no end to this story. Whatever is going to happen in the UK, there is no positive outcome for the Muslims other than things going back to where they were, where there's still going to be hate and there's still going to be intolerance and there's still going to be fear. But maybe the law of the land also starts to be applied in a way that it is going to protect the Muslims. But you're not going to feel protected ever again after this event. Okay? This is something that you have to always keep in mind. They made it very clear, that side of the world, that group of people, you're not welcome there. And as they try to label certain crazies as extremists and terrorists, the other side is just as bad. They don't have a problem using acid on your girls, okay? They want to disfigure them for the rest of their lives. You see what I'm saying? That crime in the person's head, this is pure terror. There is no achievement. So if you have a political goal or you think there's a political goal to the end of this, there isn't. There's either things get back to where they were, okay, and the hate stays, or you scare them enough. And this is the proper way. But I don't think you guys have the manpower because the Sunnis don't know how the religion of God works. If you scare them enough and beat them up enough, they will always feel inferior. And therefore they would be too scared to attack, because they will see that the cops are assisting you in maintaining the peace, not attacking, which is kind of being shown right now. But don't that's it. That's my message to everybody. And yeah, my camera's about to die. It's been 2 hours. There's still another, like, what, 30 minutes, this thing. Guys, Andrew Tate needs to shut up. Please stop promoting him. There's been a lot of lies and nonsense that he did. And with that said, peace and blessings upon you all. Thank you for stopping by. And take care.